You are tuned in to the Gift of Gab podcast, a podcast where we are intentionally growing, accepting, and becoming the best version of ourselves. We focus on all things healing, wellness, spirituality, self-development, and bettering our relationship with ourselves and others. In every episode, we'll be reflecting on lessons learned through past experiences, setting goals, and helping each other reach our fullest potential. I am your host, Gabrielle Ariana, and welcome to this week's episode. Welcome back to the Gift of Gab podcast. We are intentionally growing, accepting, and becoming the best version of ourselves. I am your host, Gabrielle Ariana, and I am feeling good today. I hope you guys are feeling great as well on this weekend. I just hope you're feeling blessed and highly favored, okay? Because I know I feel blessed and highly favored because I am blessed and highly favored. But today we're going to be talking about we're going to be asking a question. We're going to be reflecting on this question. Are you the product of your environment, or are you the innovator of your narrative? And I'm going to go I'm not going to say deep, but I'm going to give you a bunch of different perspectives of ways in which you can really analyze this question. I'm pretty sure we all heard the phrase that, you can be the product of your environment. But, when I was younger, I definitely used to always give myself I would tell myself that you're either or, right? You're either a product of your environment or you are the innovator of your narrative, meaning you get to rewrite your story, basically. So you're either the product of the environment, of the setting that you're already in, or you're going to be in this environment that is not aligned with the person that you want to become, and you get to rewrite your story to be whatever it is that you want it to be, right? And when I was younger, I used to think that you had to be one or the other, and you couldn't really do both at the same time, simultaneously. And, I grew up in an environment that was, let me speak to like my actual setting of like a house that I grew up was like, a low impoverished area, predominantly marginalized people, public schools, which nothing's wrong with public schools, but I was going to public school, but it was in an area probably wasn't the safest, and violence, things like that, not really expected or predetermined for you to have gone to college, let alone even graduate high school. I don't want to use the term successful in a which of saying like if you don't do any of these things, that means you're not deemed successful, but in the eyes of society, successful, we say it that way. And also with just my own generation of my family, of me being the first person to both graduate high school on time and then go off to college and also leave my hometown. It's like, what? That's crazy. So as a kid, I was like, yeah, no, I'm definitely not gonna be the product of my environment, of just, being in like government assistance and not really striving for more than what is predetermined that I should have attained as a marginalized person, especially a Black person that grew up in this type of community, in this type of environment or neighborhood. And so I was very determined as a kid. Okay, you're going to go to school, you're going to graduate, you're going to go to college, you're going to work, a job, you're going to do all these things, right? And basically, one, be the generational, I don't want to say curse, but cycle breaker, pattern breaker. You're not going to be the status quo of this predetermined journey that is kind of written for you as a Black kid that grown up in a impoverished community or neighborhood. And I always thought that I had to be one or the other, but as I've grown wiser and I've experienced life, I've realized and learned that you can do and be both, right? You can be both the product of your environment, and you can also are also the innovator of your narrative, essentially. And it came from me having to debunk this negative notation to the phrase a product of your environment, because I feel like most time when people use it, they're using it in a negative way of saying, you're in an environment that is unhealthy, that's toxic, just non-productive, whatever the case may be, right? And you're a product of that because it's where you grew up in. People only see you in that lens, and they don't, they can't they can't see you doing anything outside of those parameters. And I've learned that no, you can be the product of your environment in a very positive way, in a way that is beneficial to you, that is in alignment with the person that you're becoming and that you're striving towards being, and your dreams and aspirations. Because I've been in an environment, in many environments actually, I've had to shift, uproot, and move around quite a few times, and that has allowed me to really learn myself and other people in different environments physically, different types of people, adapt. One thing about me, I can adapt very fast to my environment and just be able to you know excel in those environments and things like that, and not allow the environment to affect my personal dreams and aspirations and the person that I was becoming. And this is before I even called it me being intentional, becoming someone, becoming my best self. This was just before me just being determined to just really prove everyone else wrong. So, that the type of motivation, just it does a lot for you. However, I had to rechannel the energy, reanalyze it, and now I'm utilizing it in a very positive way. And so, yes, you can be the product of your environment in a way that can have a negative effect on you, that is simply just not in alignment with the person that you're striving towards being, or your goals or aspirations. And when you're in that space, then you have to then ask yourself, okay, so am I being the innovator of my narrative at the very least? Then am I now being more intentional with making sure that I am not allowing this environment to affect me or derail me reaching my goals and aspirations and becoming that best version of myself? And I also want to let you guys, I also want to further explain that when I'm talking about environment, I am not simply just singularly talking about your physical, like, house that you're like waking up in or that you sleep in or anything like that. I'm speaking to that, yes, like your actual place where you live, your livelihood, where you sleep. But I'm also speaking to the people that's in that house or apartment or whatever it is you're living in. I'm also speaking to the job that you go to every single day. I'm speaking to the friends and the people that's in your circle. I'm speaking to the habits and things that are being done around you, right? Or that you're exposed to, the environments you're exposing you to. So when I say environment, I'm using it in a universal term and not the given term of just your actual space that you're in. It's the people, that's a part of your environment. The job that you go to, that's a part of your environment. Your family, your friends, the person you're dating, these are all things that is a part of your environment and can have an effect on you, and can either be in alignment with the person that you're striving towards being, your goals and aspirations, or it's not aligned with the person that you're being and your goals and aspirations. But that's for you to reflect and determine on your own, right? And again, like, I've been in environments with people that had habits and things that were not in line with the person that I am just at core, but it also wasn't in line with the person that I was striving towards being, or any like goals or aspirations that I had. And that's when I'm speaking to more so like, like let's trickle down to like physical, the physicality of of you and your well-being, of how your eating habits and things like that. So if you're someone who's trying to cut off smoking or drinking, you don't want to eat any processed foods, you want to probably try to eat more healthier foods and things like that, but that the actual physical environment that you're in or the people that you hang around do all of those things, that's not in line with the person that you're trying to become. So you have to really be intentional with being the innovator of your narrative in those type of spaces, meaning you have a lot more self-control, you have a lot more discipline, you're really enforcing boundaries really at that point on yourself, which coincides with having self-control. So I've been in a physical environment, had roommates who were, drinking, smoking, eating unhealthy foods, and I feel victim. And it would always happen at a time where I'm like, okay, I'm going to be 100%, intentional with my physical health, working out more, eating, raw fruits and vegetables, drinking nothing but water. No, God said we're going to test you. We're going to see how intentional you're really going to try to be. We're going to see if you're going to be the innovator of this narrative, or you're going to be the product of your environment. And I ended up being the product of my environment. I'm not going to say it was a negative way, because honestly, it was just like, it is what it is. And it actually, played a role in me being the person that I am now. So I was now in this environment where when I thought that I was going to start this journey of being more intentional with my physical health and well-being, that okay, I become the product of this environment of drinking, not really smoking, I'm not a smoker, but I'll be drinking alcohol a lot more than normally because I'm not a drinker. So that's not something that I just do just regularly. Like, that's a very rare sighting of Gabrielle drinking. But it was a point where I was doing quite often, eating very, very unhealthy foods, eating processed foods, eating junk food. It was just so unhealthy. It wasn't working out. Rarely would get up to go outside damn near. And in that time, reflecting on it, I'm like, damn, that was not in line with the person that I was trying to become or the goals and plans that I had in place for myself in that space. I don't feel bad for it. Like, I'm not gonna beat myself up about it too. That's another thing is, even if you are part of your environment and it's of an environment that's not in line with the person that you're striving towards being or your goals or aspiration, don't beat yourself up about it. You have to give yourself grace and be gentle with yourself on this journey of life because you gotta take things day by day. However, accountability is also, essential and it's key as well. And that self-control and self-discipline is key because even when I was in that space, I was not being intentional with being the innovator of my narrative at that point either. I was simply just a product of my environment in a way that just simply was not aligned with the person that I was becoming and the dream, the goals that I had for myself in that time period. But on a more opposite note, I have been in environments where I was a product of them and I was also still the innovator of my narrative, and it was in a way that was both sides of the token were in alignment with the person that I was striving towards being and the goals and aspirations that I have for myself, where I'm surrounding around people where we're all being intentional with our growth, where we were all pouring into each other and we were all, making sure we're eating healthy or getting outside and making sure our well-being is intact and making sure that we're doing things that is on the list of goals and things that we have in place for ourselves. And whilst I was in that environment, and that's the actual physical environment, the apartment that I was in, and the people that I was around me, the places that we would go, we would expose ourselves to, it was a great time of my life where I had great people around me and we were in an environment, in a space that was really safe for all of us in that time. And it's a time that I really do appreciate and I hold special to, in my heart. And even during that time, I was still being the innovator of okay, this space is perfect and it's great, but it's also still not the space of which I am, attaining and really wanting for myself out of life. So I was being more intentional with myself at that time, really pouring into myself and doing, shadow work and stuff like that. That's when I was really starting to really learn myself. And this is during the pandemic too. So this is where you couldn't really get out too much. So you spend nothing but time with yourself. And that's not something I have a hard time doing. So I actually like spending time by myself. But it's a different type of experience where you're kind of forced to do it and be by yourself, if that makes any sense. So yeah, but I just really want people to understand that just because your environment or your surroundings is not aligned with the dreams and the whatever picture you've envisioned for yourself does not mean that's the end all be all. You can, and that's your time to be the innovator of your narrative. That's the time for you to be more intentional. That's the time for you to, clean up shop if you have to. That means removing those people, get out of that space, that place, that city, or that job, cut ties, whatever. If it's not in alignment with the person that you're becoming, if it's not in alignment with your dreams, your aspirations, it's just not in line with your well-being overall, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That's up to your standards and the journey that you're on in your life. Then you gotta let it go, right? And sometimes we're in environments that we can't help but be in that environment. It's like thinking back in the time of COVID, that would be the time where I feel like a lot of people were in physical environments that they had no control of. So that I feel like a lot of people started their healing or they started their journey of really getting to know themselves and the people that they was surrounded by because they had no choice but to, because we can't go nowhere, we can't go outside. But yes, sometimes you are in these spaces physically, or you're working at a job that you don't like. there's people there that just, probably can trick you in some type of way, or it's just not, it's unhealthy for you, right? And you probably may have to still continue to work that job or whatever the case may be. Then you just want to be more intentional in those spaces and times in those areas, as well as the environment. I'm going to take a little turn here and talk about the environment of your actual internal, right? Because as within, so without. So your internal world also can co-create your external world, right? Your environmental thoughts. That's crazy that I said that way, but your thoughts, right? That's also and I'm using the word environment in a universal way, and I'm kind of applying it to multiple different aspects and things that is inside of you and also external from you. And so your thoughts, right? So are you having these thoughts that are probably negative, making you feel low, making you feel less than, or making you feel like you just, making you want to give up, making you feel sad, whatever, the case may be? Are you a product of those thoughts? Are you allowing those thoughts to consume you and then determine your entire day and control how you are moving forward? Or are you going to be the innovator and the controller of those thoughts? Which thoughts are you going to actually exercise? That's you then being the innovator of that specific narrative or situation or scenario. So, I think this is the perfect time to really just reflect and hone in on your entire world in all aspects of your life. Is this specific aspect, whether that's my relationship or my friendship or my physical apartment or house or my job, in alignment with this person that I'm striving towards being and I'm working towards becoming, or my dreams and aspirations? If it's not in alignment, that's a risk that is that a risk that you're willing to take, of still entertaining that and maintaining that relationship or that place, and that it's not, beneficial of you or in alignment with the person that you're becoming or the dreams and aspirations that you have for yourself? And I feel like also sometimes when you're in those spaces where you are a product of your environment and it's actually not in line with the person that you're becoming, but you kind of really can't get out of it, or you just can't even fix yourself to be the innovator at that time, to have that self-discipline and control. I feel like in those times it's probably because it's a part of your journey of that person you're becoming. So like I was saying before, when I was in the space of just drinking alcohol, eating unhealthy and all those things, just not really caring too much about my health. That person, I need to be that person to the person now, because now I can reflect back girl, you was just now I'm paying. Well, I'm not saying I'm paying for it, but because I was that person, now my body is in a different state that I know that because of that version of me was in that environment, it was a product of it. This person I am now is now being the innovator and making sure I'm doing things differently. So yes, sometimes when you are the product of your environment and it's of an environment that's not in line with the person that you're becoming or your plans and goals and things, that is also a part of your journey of becoming that better person, if that makes sense. Like I said in my very first episode, is that each person that you are in that current present moment is a person that you need to be the person that you're striving towards becoming. However, that doesn't excuse you for allowing those environments that you're a product of that's not in alignment with the person that you're becoming to just continue to be the product of the environment, especially when you are mindful of it. At the time, I wasn't mindful of it. I just got this newfound alignment within the past 2 freaking years. So now I can reflect on it and say, yeah, I definitely was a part of an environment that wasn't aligned with the person that I was becoming or the goals that I had for myself. But in that moment, I wasn't aware of the fact that I was a product of my environment in that way. Now I can reflect on it and say that I was, and that person actually helped me become the person that I am now because of the people that I met and those experiences that I had at that time. But when you are more mindful of your actions and you're mindful of, the places and things that you allow yourself to be exposed to, then that at that point you have to hold yourself accountable. And accountability is very essential in this journey of life and just experiencing life, especially when you are striving towards being someone greater and you have all these goals and things that you're wanting to accomplish and attain out of life. Accountability is going to be your best friend, and intentionality is going to be your best friend as well. So let me just ask y'all this one last time for you to just really, let it sit and marinate. Are you the product of your environment? And is that of an environment that is in alignment with the person you are becoming? The goals that you have, the heights that you want to reach, the mountains you want to climb, right? Yes or no? If it's not, then now you have to ask yourself, am I being intentional with being that innovator of my narrative, of being the creator of my story, of being the person that's rewriting my story? Don't allow the environment determine what your life is going to look like. You can always and are always the innovator, right? And at any given moment, you can just decide, you know what, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to be more intentional. It's all about intentionality and making sure that each step that you take and each move that you make is aligned and it's helping you grow and evolve in the best ways. Everything is essentially helping you grow, and it's helping you on this journey of life in some capacity, and it's something that you can take from it. But when you're more intentional with it, then you're just allowing room for more opportunities and experiences and environments, because we've been using that term throughout this entire episode, that are in alignment with the person that you're becoming, the goals and aspirations and things that you have. So but the more you put out of something, the more you receive, and you're open to receiving that same thing. So if you're continuously being on this route of being the product of your environment that in a way that's not really helping you grow and become this best version of yourself or your goals or aspirations, and in a excelling way, it can excel you sooner rather than later, then you're going to continuously be in those environments or exposed to those environments that can continuously, derail you in a sense. But if you are being more intentional in being in environments physically, again, whether that's a job, a person, relationship, a place, etc., that are in alignment with the aspirations and goals that you have and the intentions you then set for yourself in your life and this person that you're becoming, then the universe is going to provide you more of that. It's going to continuously give you more of those types of environments that is in alignment with it. So it's our job, to make that choice and, be mindful of what we're doing, who we're doing it with, who we're around, what places that we go to, etc., and just how we maneuver in our life. Just intentionality is going to be your best friend, as well as accountability, self-discipline, and self-control. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Do allow it to marinate and, sit on it a little bit, reflect on different aspects of your life, and ask yourself if they are in alignment with you and who you're becoming. Are you a product of that, or are you not? Are you the innovator? Only you have the answers, So I'm just providing you the question. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gift of Gab podcast. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at @thegiftofgab_pod. I will speak to you all next week. Thank you guys so much. Continue to grow, accept, and become someone greater than you are now.